Hello, Steve White, TrekBoy89 for Steve Outs 89. Well, I saw this article on TrekMovie.com, my old friend TrekMovie.com, where I got my name TrekBoy89 from. Had some really bad experiences with some people, some homophobic things that happened there, so I don't go to that website much. They used to be made by fans, and then they sort of became for CBS and Paramount more so than the fans' voice, so I don't sort of listen to them much. But they had an article out. New Paramount chief confirms planning for multiple Star Trek films, including animated film. So they're trying to, now that Prodigy's been released, they're trying to get some press going and get some attention. And I thought, oh God, please tell me they're not, because they didn't have a good run with the JJ films. The first one had a lot of potential. The second one didn't deliver. The third one really spat on Star Trek and said, space exploration is boring and we're only really alive when we're basically in fear of death and fighting for our lives and killing people. It really wasn't about exploration, and you just have to watch the first minute of that show with the captain's log to really get a sense of what they think of Star Trek and what they think of space exploration and science fiction in general. It was really disappointing. The film overall played reasonably well, but that basic attitude is the whole issue with the whole of New Trek, just the whole idea of it. But so I'm not really looking forward to any more films from them because, But I read through the article and there really was nothing in it. It really was a big nothing burger. There's only 3 relevant lines in the whole article. The guy, Brian Robbins, he's literally the new Paramount chief. He's only been there for 7 minutes, as he said. He's waiting for development to be delivered, so he's received nothing from anyone. He said, there's a lot going on, and I'm going to leave it at that. So when he was asked again and again to give information about any of the films in development, that's all he said. There's a lot going on, and I'm going to leave it at that. So that's nothing. And then he said he did say they were looking at long-term, not short-term, basically saying they're looking at what's going to happen if they're going to develop a film, how it's going to affect the next 5 to 10 years of Star Trek production, rather than just looking at one movie at a time like JJ seemed to be doing. So that was the only interesting thing, the only slightly relevant comment. The rest was just a whole bunch of fluff. So I saw that and I was like, oh God, they're going to make a bunch of really bad Star Trek films and just bury Star Trek because they just don't know what Star Trek is, and they're aiming for the general audience and trying to be more general science fiction and more like Star Wars. And they've just really taken the Star Trek out of Star Trek and just gone for big budget action and spectacle over actual science fiction and content, and it really hasn't worked because they've sort of lost the Star Trek fans and the general audience. You can't really keep their attention for very long because they don't really care about science fiction or Star Trek. So this new audience they're trying to court is not really, grabbing on. So this is probably the lightest, weakest article I've read from them for a long time. They're just like, hey, all this stuff's in production. No, it's not. It's not even in development. They're just talking because Alex Kurtzman wants to make a bunch of things happen and JJ wants to make a bunch of things happen. But because of the performance of the other films and Discovery and New Trek in general, no one wants to give them money to do it. So Paramount Plus sort of has money, so maybe some things will happen. And Paramount now is more involved in Star Trek because of all the licensing issues not being resolved, but not being as much of an issue because they're one company now, even though all the contracts from the separate companies still exist and all those issues. They don't have to worry about suing each other, so because it's not like before. But nothing's really changed, but it's just they don't have to worry about, they're not competing anymore, they're all the same company, so it's just a different dynamic. But yeah, so I don't really see anything much happening from this. I don't really get much from this. It really was a nothing burger and just clickbait headline. But I spent the time to read it. I thought I should at least talk about it. And it is annoying that they are sort of creating these beat-ups, and they keep doing it. They keep saying over and again, oh, we've got this in development, we've got that in development, we're making Star Trek 4, Star Trek 4 is happening again. We've been told it's happening about 4 times in the last, the last film was 2013, I think? Was it 2013? No, sorry, 2016. 2016. So it's been 5 years since the last film, and nothing's happened. They promised Star Trek 4 when they were releasing Star Trek 3, Star Trek Beyond. The whole point of that is to show confidence and say, oh yeah, this new film is so great. We don't even have to wait for it to open. We're already greenlighting the next film. But they had nothing. Nothing was happening, and that never happened. And the other two films that were talked about were cancelled. There's one other film that was being talked about, but nothing was in development. The only thing that did happen that was real was they slated a release for June 2023, but now everything in the Paramount slate apparently has been moved. Presumably that's been moved as well, and there was no development on it anyway. So nothing's happening, there's no news, they're trying to make it sound like there is. That's annoying. It got my attention, I wasted my time, and now I'm annoyed enough to talk about it. So this was my little vent. I had my little bit of YouTube therapy. So I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of these developments and if they're actually going to do an animated film, because they are talking about that just because they're talking to Nickelodeon. So they're talking about films with Nickelodeon. Doesn't mean anything's actually going to happen. I'm going to go.